All right. So
Okay.
then I just kind of cut it there, and
You
yeah,
don't wrinkle your nose like twinkle twinkle or anything. It's
I
just like
wish, I wish. Um, oh my goodness, I've that is the worst. The
what, the
expedition.
night
I'm still
crawlers thing?
Yes.
I thought it was so
Okay.
funny. It's
The
fine. Like
expedition. It's still recording, by the way. But
yeah.
Expedition Bigfoot.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
you know how I interviewed them? I
Uh-uh.
had to edit the crud out of that episode because I
Really?
mispronounced her name wrong the whole time.
Oh man. That's
And
so rough. It's so
it
rough. I've
is
done
it's
it
a rough
though.
one, but yeah.
I did it. I was actually giving a friend a shout out. I was talking about an event that I was planning, and I was like, "Okay," and I was like, "Ann Osborne Wells," and blah blah blah, and I was like rolling with it. And then later on, she made this post, and she wasn't actually talking about me, but she was like, "Yeah, I love how everyone calls me Wells when it's Walls," and I was
Oh
like,
no.
"Oh
Oh,
no,
that's
I
terrible.
did that. Oh
Oh
no!"
boy.
Like
Yep.
I've done it. I've done it. I love whenever people send me their bio. I used to read their bio live. I quit doing that because I can't
Yeah.
pronounce where they're from. I mean, yeah,
Totally.
it was rough.
Yeah. That's why I would never do live shows because I screw up stuff and I can't edit it. But yeah, let's so what do you have any stories that you would feel cool with sharing?
Absolutely. I
Awesome.
mean,
Awesome.
I've been doing this a long time. I've have a lot of stories, and so
Cool.
the one that sticks out the most is the time I got growled at.
Mm.
I was at my mom's house. So my mom lives in deep East Texas, so in the piney woods. So
Oh yeah,
her
shoot.
house is actually literally out in the middle of the woods. There's nothing around
Whoa.
but woods and trees.
Okay. Okay.
And it's creepy. Like it gets dark. And so now she is not clear cut. She's undercut all the brush and stuff away from her house, but before it was
Mm-hmm.
like right up on the house and just trees and brush.
Okay.
And anyway, we had just finished doing a live show for night callers. And so we used to do live in the field shows where we would call in and then like research while we were on air,
Oh,
before
nice.
live video was a thing. So this is what we did.
Sure.
And we had just hung up and we were all sitting there talking, and I was sitting on her porch. And mind you, she doesn't have any street lamps or anything. Like this is out in the middle of the woods. And I looked over and I saw eye shine. And you know, sorry, excuse me, did like my pre-check, like is it at
Okay.
the level of an owl? How big are the eyes? What color? All of the stuff that you do, because I always say like Bigfoot researchers are the biggest skeptics. We will go through our checklist of everything it could be before we say it might
Yep.
be a Bigfoot.
Yep. Yep.
So I went through my list and I was like, no, that was eye shine. So I kept looking at it, and then I didn't see it anymore. It was, quick. And then I was like, man, I wonder if it's walking over there. And I kind of looked, and then there were these bushes that were, I'm really bad with distance, so we're gonna say like 10 feet from the porch. I don't know. There were these bushes that were like 10 foot in front of the porch, maybe less. I don't know. Anyway, and I was looking at those bushes and I was like, man, how crazy would it be if it was like hiding behind those bushes watching us? This is stuff that your
Yeah.
brain
Yeah.
does in the dark.
Totally. Totally.
Except when I was staring at the bushes, it growled at me.
Oh,
And
weird.
I mean, this was a huge growl. This rattled my chest. This was loud.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And my
Wow.
initial reaction was I was offended. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I was like, how dare you growl at me? Like, I don't even think so. I think it was mad that I had pinpointed its position, maybe. I don't know. But I remember after that, the fear set in, and I reached down and I grabbed my chair, and I was holding my rear in the chair because fight or flight was kicking in and flight was
Oh,
winning.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
was
Sure.
holding myself in the chair, and my mom was at the other end of the porch on the phone. And I was like, Mom, 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 did you hear that? Did you hear that, Mom? I didn't want to alert this thing that I had heard it and that I was,
Right.
gonna die. And so I was like, Mom, Mom. And she looks at me and she's like, and she said I was white as a sheet and I looked like I was about to throw up. And she goes, that was a semi truck, honey. And I was like,
Hmm.
you live out in the middle of nowhere. Like you can hear a truck 20 miles before it gets close. And I'm just like, that wasn't a truck. And she's like, it was a truck. It's fine. And so at that point, I was like, well, if she's that dumb, she deserves to die. I love you. I'm going inside. I didn't really think anything like that. But okay, I went inside. I gave up on her at that point. I can't save her. So I go inside, and my husband was sleeping on the couch, and I sat down next to him, and I'm shaking, and he's snoozing through all of my terror. Finally, I end up like rustling him awake, and he looks at me and he's like, "Whoa, what happened?" Because I'm just white as a sheet. I said, "It just growled at me. I just got growled at. It growled at me." And he's just like, "What did?" And I said, "A Bigfoot." He's like, "It was probably a cat." And I said, "No." I said, "It shook my chest. Like it was terrifying." And then so finally later I got out of my mom that yeah, she heard it, and yes, it was not a cat or a semi or anything like that. She said,
Wow.
but she said, "You were just so terrified." She said, "I did not want to further your fear." She said, "I felt like you were about to get in your car and leave." And I was like, "Well, maybe so." But it was really scary. I mean, it was like the chest of whatever growled at me, it had to be just massive, could be the amount of sound and vibrations it put off. It was, honest to God, the most scared I've ever been. I was terrified. Well, from a Bigfoot situation.
Was it similar? So it's because supposedly, like, well, there's like infrasound, like it's
Yeah.
like when you hear a tiger at
Hmm.
like I don't know if you've ever heard that at a zoo too,
I
where if a
have.
tiger growls,
Yeah.
does that I heard that once, and it like I was ready to book it. I was like, I'm out of here.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've heard a lion roar at the
Yeah.
zoo, and it just sounded, it was very deep, like there was
Hmm.
just, but it wasn't the same as what I heard. Like
Okay.
that was more
Interesting.
of a roar, you
Hmm.
know, shake the walls of your house, yes, but what I heard was a growl, and it was like this deep rumble growl. It was like a warning. It was like, "Stop looking at me.
Mm.
Like you're
Yeah.
looking right at me. Stop it." It
Wow.
just, it was like it was scaring me off. I didn't feel like it was going to attack, but it was definitely letting me know like, "Hey, I don't appreciate you pointing me out to everybody right now."
That's
um
crazy.
it was really scary, but yeah, I've actually had infrasound hit me before, many times. So
Really.
that's something that I'm very, I know a lot of people don't accept it. I don't think they've experienced it maybe the way I have. I don't know. But I have experienced it, and it's affected me different ways. I experienced it when I was a teenager, and I was terrified. I did not like the place we were at. I wanted to leave. I was like pulling on my mom's sleeve. "Mom, can we go? Can we go? I don't want to be here. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go." It was a very scary place.
Hmm.
And then all of a sudden, I got hit with this. I was just warm. I was warm, and I was relaxed. And I just kind of like melted down into my seat. And I was just, and my mom was like, "Do you still want to go?" And I was like, "No, it's cool. Whatever. I don't care." It was like this really
Wait,
weird,
what?
I feel like, and I've actually heard about,
Okay.
I've heard about animals, the ones that can use not infrasound, but the vibrations in their chest and such,
Hmm.
to put animals at ease, so it's easier to catch their prey. I don't know.
Wow.
It was a weird situation, but
That's interesting.
now that's the only experience I have ever had like that. The other experiences are anxiety. It's like I can feel
That
it
one I
right
hear a
here in my
lot.
chest.
Yep.
It's like full on anxiety. I can feel it. I have goosebumps from head to toe. And so, one of the more interesting times that this happened, I was in southeastern Oklahoma, and we had stopped at this T and a road. And across from the T, it was just like mountains and forests. There were no roads over
Okay.
there. And there was a creek. And so, we were all standing by the cars, and I decided I needed to go to the bathroom. So I tramp across the road into the woods, and, I'm going to go do my thing. Well, it's like I hit the proverbial Bigfoot wall. It's like where you just stop and you cannot go any further. You cannot take one more step. And I kept pushing, and I would try to take a step, and I'm like, "Nope, that's not, no, it's not going to happen. I can't do it." And so then I was staring straight ahead, or down, down towards the creek. And it's like where the creek dropped off. Um, there was, there was this tree. Okay, there's this white tree,
Okay.
and behind it was another tree. But this white tree, I could see the tree behind it, and then all of a sudden I couldn't see the tree behind it. It was like a shadow. And I was standing there and I was just staring at that spot and I'm just feeling this, feeling. And a friend of mine came up to check on me and he was just like, "You okay in there?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah. Um, yeah, I'm fine." He's like, "Well, what are you doing?" And I said, "I just I don't know. I think I see something, but I'm not sure." And he was like, "Okay, what do you want me to do?" And I was like, "Go get Stephen Hill." So Stephen Hill is part Squatch. I'm convinced. He's huge. He's like 6'5", this big dude. His Bigfoot call is the closest I've heard to mimicking a real Bigfoot call because he's
Oh,
so
crazy.
massive, right? So
Yeah.
he's a good friend of mine. I love him to death. This was the first time I'd ever been researching with him though. So I said, "Send Stephen Hill over here." And I figure it will either scare it off or piss it off. Like, let's see what
Mm-hmm.
happens. I don't
Yep.
know. At that point, I'm just like, let's see what happens. Push it, run at it. I don't know. So Steven comes up and he walks up next to me. He's like, "Hey, you okay?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Whoa." He's like, "Man, you feel that?" And I just kind of looked at him and, this is the last
So
person on the
weird.
planet I would expect to be talking about, "Do you feel that?" Like
Mm-hmm.
this is
Yep.
not something that I
Yep.
vocalize to a lot of people. Anyway, I just kind of looked at him. I'm like, "What do you feel?" And he's like, "Whew," he said, "I feel like it's like beating on my chest." He's like, "Right here, it's like pummeling my chest right here." And I'm like,
Wow.
"Okay." And he said, "I feel like it's coming from, like, you see that white tree right there ahead of you?" He's like, "I feel like it's coming from that direction." Now, I
Oh
hadn't
yeah.
said that to anybody. I did not tell my friend
Wow.
that.
Yeah.
I did
Yeah.
not
Good.
tell him that. So we stood there just kind of talking and chatting. And he goes, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "Well," I said, "why don't you go sit by that tree over there and I'm going to walk towards it and see what it does."
Mm.
And he turns around and he goes, "Oh my God." He said, "I feel it on my back." And he goes to sit down. And at that time, another friend of ours walked up and he's just like, "Oh," and the feeling went away. And then the shadow
Mm-hmm.
was gone and you could see the tree again.
Oh, weird.
I don't know what it was, but that was a time that was corroborated by somebody else, but in a way
Yep.
that I didn't tell him what was going on. So
That is really cool. I love that. The not telling the other person and they say the same thing. That's
yeah,
pretty good. Yeah.
yeah, that's one of my favorite things is, whenever somebody else corroborates your story and you're just like, "Okay, good, I'm not
Exactly.
seeing shadows, like you see that too, or you smell that too, or whatever, you heard that." Yeah.
Um. So I do not know much about your background, but
Hmm.
there is a question I want to ask. I'm asking it in the Patreon section. Um, are you involved with like the Area X guys at all? Being that you're both from Oklahoma or not?
I do not research with
Okay.
NAWAC or North American Wood Ape Conservancy. I do not
Okay.
research with them. I do know them.
Okay.
I actually had Marvin Leeper on my show. He's a member, and I plan to go research with him, but not with
Okay.
the
Cool.
group.
Okay.
I do know where Area X is, and I do plan to research around there, but not in that area. No.
Awesome. That's cool. Okay.
Hmm.
Cool. Cool. We'll leave it at that. Yeah, that would be man. Oklahoma sounds wild. Like it
It
sounds a lot different than what you think of it.
it really
Someday I'll
is.
have to get down there.
It's, there's, and it's so varied. It's like, you go to, I've been to Sulphur, Oklahoma and researched, and I had a weird thermal sighting there.
Oh, really?
I'm not saying it was Bigfoot. I don't know what it was. So, a friend of mine and my mom, and we decided to walk down this path. And we were walking down the path, lights out. We didn't have any lights on. No headlamps, no flashlights, nothing. That's one of my favorite things to do is black out and then walk. And so we're walking down this path, and someone had handed me the night vision. And so I was looking through it, and we heard this god awful noise. And so the thing about sulfur is it's like armadillo heaven. There's
Oh,
just
really?
armadillos everywhere. And these things sound like 17 Bigfoot running through the woods, right? They're so
Really?
loud. You just think that the woods are converging upon you, and then you shine
Oh,
your light
wow.
and it's like, "Oh, there's an armadillo and it's blind and so it's scuffling." Anyway,
Mm.
well, I'd heard this armadillo. And so I held up the night vision just to look, and I'm like, "Yep, it's an armadillo." And then I was panning back, just cuz what if there's a Bigfoot behind it? I don't know. So I panned back and I see this weird thing. I thought it was a tree branch like bouncing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But then I realized it had a shape.
Oh,
It
weird.
looked like, and I mean, it was so weird that I immediately stopped and I grabbed my mom's shoulder because I'm still like this. And I grabbed my mom's shoulder and I like slammed into her. And I was like, WTF over and over and over and over and over loudly. And I didn't say WTF. And
Right.
then my friend behind me actually slammed into me. It was like the Three Stooges. And I'm looking at this thing and it's like it would be like if someone bent over and put their hands on their knees and like ducked their head, and I'm looking at it from behind, but it was so wide. And then it was like doing this. And I'm
That's
staring
weird.
at it and I was just like,
Hmm.
what, and I'm just like over and over, I'm like, what is that, what is that, and they're just like, what is it, and I'm like, I don't know. And it scared the crap out of me, I'm not kidding. And so I kind of like, I looked at it and I took the camera off of it for a second. I'm like, okay, it's a tree branch and I am just, pareidolia, I'm making it out to be a Bigfoot because that's what I really want to see tonight. And then I move it back and I cannot find it again. I mean, I looked, armadillo is there, tree is there, it is not there. I don't know what it was.
That's crazy.
I honest to God don't know what it was, but it was creepy. The way it was like, oh, it was like a zombie. It was rocking. Like, it was very creepy.
That's good stuff.
So yeah. I I mean, I wish I could. I wish now, in hindsight's 2020, I wish I would have ran at it, just like ran through the brush at it, keeping my eye on it. Like, yeah, I'm gonna find you. I would have tripped and ran into a tree or something. But you know what? Like, I could have had a sighting.
I think someday you will. If you keep
Hope so.
at it, I think it's inevitable. Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for staying on a little
Oh,
bit
absolutely.
later to share some stories.
Absolutely.
I am going to stop recording.